Today on r/am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not wanting my wife's daughter to be introduced as a family friend? A few years ago, my wife and I got a letter from a woman claiming to be my wife's daughter, Laurel, who wanted to meet with her. She'd told me that she'd given up a child for adoption when she was young, so I was expecting that this might happen. What I didn't expect was that the truth was there was never any adoption. She just left the baby with the father and bailed. The worst thing about this is that when Laurel was 12, she wrote my wife begging for help. Her response was to write her the nastiest reply imaginable. I've since had a chance to read it. That basically blamed her for her problems and threatened her against contacting her again and ruining her family. I couldn't believe it. Not only has she been lying this whole time, but she actively had contact and chose to abandon her a second time while we were married. This has all been an emotional dumpster fire, but that's an issue of its own. We've been in contact and building a relationship for the last few years. So much therapy. So far, we've kept this all away from our kids. At this point, it's been a few years, and there's interest in having everyone meet. Thing is, between my wife and Laurel, they've come to an agreement to tell the kids and everyone else in the family that Laurel is a family friend. Absolutely not. I'm sick of the lying. What they call each other is their own deal, and I don't expect that to change, but I'm not lying anymore. I don't like lying to my kids as a policy, but lying to them about who's related to them and who isn't is dangerous. I only want them meeting if we can tell them the truth. Now I'm getting into it with my wife, Laurel, and my parents, the only outside people who know. They say I should go along with it not for my wife's sake but for Laurel's. I understand why she would want that, but I don't think I care anymore. The kids need to know. For our next story. Am I the a-hole for skipping my friend's birthday without warning because his girlfriend calls me the typical girl best friend? Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 because our parents are best friends. Now I would not say Miles is my best friend. He is a good friend and we do hang out on occasion but see each other on all major holidays because of our parents. We are in our early 20s. The problem started because of a dumb childhood memory. When we were 8, we had a wedding play on school after care. I played the bride and Miles the groom. It was a play. With horrible songs and uncoordinated kids. Our parents made pictures and videos of that. And we each have one picture on our family picture walls. Miles is dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started dating last year. Lindy does not like me. So every time we coincide at a celebration, she makes a comment about me being the typical girl best friend. She one time said that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I have no clue where she got that impression from. Miles and I have different friend groups and schedules. Besides the monthly catch-up over food, we didn't really meet that much. Things got worse when Lindy saw the wedding play picture. The comments just got more. She even started to DM me on Instagram saying she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles once about this, and he told me to give her time. So his birthday was on Saturday, and I was invited. Lindy wrote me saying something along the lines that she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I was not allowed to take up his time. I was honestly just fed up. I tried talking to Miles once more, but he said the same thing. So I just skipped out. When the party started, I wrote a quick "sorry, I can't come," told him my mother was going to bring his present. Now he is upset with me for missing his birthday. Lindy is mad that I made it all about myself, and my parents are upset I missed a family function. Edit. I didn't show anyone the messages because I didn't want to make more out of this than it is. I didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy, especially not if she is a new fixture in Miles' life. That would make both our lives more difficult. I hope that just talking about it might be the more adult thing. My parents are not mad at me or blowing up my phone. They and Miles' parents were just bummed out that this was the first birthday that I ever missed. As to why she is jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents ever wanted us to get together. There were no jokes or anything about it. I think they also never would want that. The wedding play picture is in the living rooms because they loved the picture, and it was our first play. Let's dive into our next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to never volunteer me to help her family again? My wife, 38 female, and I, 39 male, have been married for 8 years and have a 4-year-old son. My wife's younger brother, Joe, and his girlfriend are moving into an apartment together at the beginning of June. But girlfriend's lease is up at the end of April, so she needed to move out of her place. But Joe currently lives in a studio apartment, so he doesn't have room for all her stuff. So they were going to move all of girlfriend's stuff into a storage unit for a month until they get their new place together. A little over a month ago, Joe had asked my wife if we would be able to help them move girlfriend's stuff, and she agreed. My mother-in-law was supposed to watch our son so we could both help, but she fell ill and had to cancel. My wife suggested trying to get a babysitter for that day, but I didn't want to spend hundreds on a babysitter to help someone move. That's dumb. And bringing a 4-year-old with us would not be helpful to anyone. This turned into an argument between us because she said I should help them move while she watches our son since I'm stronger than she is, and I know how to drive our truck with a trailer. I told her that she should help them and have them rent a U-Haul for the day. We compromised by telling Joe that I would help them, but they need to get a U-Haul instead of using our truck and trailer. Then the morning of the move, this past Saturday, my wife told me that a friend of hers got sweet tickets through work to a hockey game for that day and invited them. Yes, sweet tickets to a playoff hockey game. She said she would be bringing our son since her friend was bringing her kids too. Great, so not only do I get stuck helping someone move, but my wife and son get to go have an amazing experience together that I miss out on. And yes, this was my son's first major sporting event, and I was missing it. And wouldn't you know it, Joe never got a U-Haul. And his girlfriend wasn't even close to packed up and ready when I got there. I spent 7 to 8 hours in multiple trips back and forth helping them move. All the while my wife is sending pictures to our family group chat of how much fun they're having at the hockey game. When everyone was home that night, my wife was surprised that I wasn't in a good mood. She said that I acted like I barely cared when our son was telling us about the hockey game and how much fun it was. I asked her if she was seriously confused about why I was upset, and she told me to tell her. So I started railing off all the reasons I had to be pissed off. She volunteered me to help. She got to spend the day doing something very special with our son that I missed out on. Her brother and his girlfriend were not prepared, and I had spent the entire day doing manual labor. I ended my little rant by telling her that she is never going to volunteer me to help her family ever again. She told me I was overreacting and I can't hold it against her that her friend invited them to the game. She also said I'm not being fair by blaming her for Joe and his girlfriend. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for letting someone skip my bachelorette party and not telling them new details that would have changed their mind? Apologies in advance, as I had a hard time writing the situation in a single sentence. My brother has been trying to push me to get closer to his girlfriend Mary, together 3 months. I've done my best to get to know her, initiating dinners, trying her hobbies with her, etc. But we honestly don't really get along. I personally think she's a snob. She complimented my designer bag, but took the compliment back when she found out it was thrifted. As in literally said yikes. I take that back. While she thinks I lack culture and sophistication, also something she's mentioned when trying to convince me to do a makeover with her. The issue is that I'm getting married this year, and my brother has been really trying to get her involved. I put my foot down with the bridal party since they've only been dating for 3 months and I don't know her, but he insisted that I invite her to the bachelorette. It was originally supposed to be super low-key and local. Mary tried to push for something more extravagant, but it really wasn't in my budget. When I wouldn't budge, she told us something came up that weekend and she couldn't go. I was later surprised by my friends who had come together to organize a lavish weekend through favors and points, i.e. one of my friend's aunts works for a spa, so she was able to get discounted packages, another used her travel points to book a suite, etc. I was not told about this and was truly and happily surprised. The issue is that Mary found out when we posted pictures and she was pissed. My brother is now saying that I deliberately left her out, but she told me she was busy. Mary said that if she had known what the weekend was like though, she would have rearranged her schedule. I feel conflicted because I suspect that my friends didn't tell Mary on purpose, but they're claiming they made these plans after Mary bowed out and didn't reach back out since she was busy. My brother still says I should have double-checked and made more of an effort to let Mary know my plans, so I figured I'd ask the internet for their thoughts. Our last story for today. Am I the a-hole for evicting my brother and his family from the house I have inherited so my daughter can live there? I, 40 female, have a daughter Caroline, 17 female, my brother Adam, 34 male, is married and has 2 kids under the age of 5. Back when I was in my 20s, our great-grandmother ended up with an illness which required someone to take care of her. This ended up being me, as everyone else was busy with their lives and I've only recently graduated from university back then. Due to this, when she passed away, I have inherited the house she lived in, which is a small 2-bedroom. I have lived there until I got married and me and my husband ended up moving to a bigger property. About a year later, my brother asked if I'm willing to rent it out to him, which I agreed to do, but have warned him I will need it back when Caroline turns 18, she was 3 at the time, since it is very close to universities and city center. Legal agreement was drafted for the rent, significantly below market value, so everything was followed by the book. About a year ago, I've informed my brother about needing the house back as my daughter is going to be 18, and I would like to have some repairs done before she moves in. My brother ignored me, so I have issued him notice to vacate, which was also ignored. As he continued to ignore me, I had no choice but apply for a court order to evict them, with hearing taking place last month. Last week, him and his family were officially evicted. Upon getting into the house, I have noticed it was in horrible condition, and it would take a few months just to make it somewhat habitable, let alone do redecorating or repairs. I have raised this with my brother since he was meant to look after the house and let me know of any repairs, but this talk ended up in an argument where I was called an a-hole for evicting him and his family so my spoiled daughter can live by herself, and not giving them enough notice. They had just over a year to find something suitable. He also said I have inherited the house by cheating. My parents are on his side since Adam and his family live with them. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.